Alright. Hello, Dark. It's time to talk. It's a real talk time. I will lower this pretty low. Real talk. We're done. We have finally completed all of the GoldSrc games. Like, that's it. We've done Half-Life, we've done Blue Shift, we've done Opposing Force, we've done Decay, and as a bonus, I've even done Black Mesa, the Crowbar Collective fan game. I have done everything related to Black Mesa and the facility in all the Source games. Sure, there could be mods that I want to play. There is Black Mesa Blue Shift I want to play, but for the original GoldSrc games, I am done. Done. It's time to move on. Back to Half-Life 2. Mods is optional. I'll just have I want to do mods in the future. But for right now, as a celebration of this achievement, I want to watch the Half-Life 25th anniversary. It's a 1 hour reaction. It takes a whole hour, and I'm gonna be talking about it and giving my thoughts. Oh yeah, there is Black Mesa Classic. That's not really a reason to go back to Black Mesa though, or Half-Life. Like, that's cool. People have already made content on that. And this is not strictly a Half-Life channel. This is just a variety channel. I play games that I want to play, and the only reason why I played Opposing Force and I played Blue Shift and I played Black Mesa is because of you guys. I was just gonna play Half-Life and play Half-Life 2 and Half-Life Alyx. I played Black Mesa. I played I played so many extra things before Half-Life 2. And after today, we're finally free. Now, this is a pretty long documentary. But so before I talk about the documentary and react to it, I have a couple things to say. We're doing Half-Life 2, then we're doing episodes, then we're doing Alyx. Once I'm done with Alyx, we will be fully caught up. We will be fully caught up with the Half-Life franchise up to Half-Life 3. All right. This is it. To celebrate the 25th anniversary of the release of Half-Life, we reunited the original development team to share their memories of creating Valve's first game. And you can look at all this shit, but these are the chapters. Intro, early days of Valve, technology and scripting sequences, character design, creating the opening levels, weapon design, sound design, level design, narrative and voice acting Zen in post-release. So that's what we're gonna be active today. All right, I need to get the proper face cam. There we go. Are you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready to watch the anniversary? Are we ready? Like I said, I'll stop, I'll discuss things, I'll talk with you guys. I want to break the video down as we go. So this 1 hour, so I try to say this, the stream is about, and the video is about 1 hour long, and we'll probably convert into 2 hours, it'd be an hour 30 minutes, depending on how much talking and shit we do. You ready? It still kind of is an elusive company. Like, it still is a really big deal. Valve is like still, it's still like pro customer. It's still, they're still innovative. Like Half-Life Alyx to this day is the best VR game in the market. There's no game better than Alyx. Like, and that was their first time fucking with VR, like making their own VR game. It's now considered the best VR game ever. And the only game that comes close currently is that, like, the new Batman game that's coming out, or some of the Star Wars games. But I feel like the quality and story and cutscenes and like immersion, Half-Life 2 Half-Life Alyx blows anything and everything out of the fucking water. They can't even comprehend what to do with Alyx. Alright, I think we're ready, guys. Let's begin.
You just go over the mountains over here and you're in high desert. You get past Ellensburg and it's high desert. So I spent a lot of time out there getting reference. Most of the reference came from Eastern Washington. I did a drive out to the Columbia Gorge and took a lot of photos, and also a lot of just reference imagery of just like, hey, this is what desert looks like, and big cliffs and stuff like that. That drive was 2 days. It was 8 hours down, 8 hours back, and I'm not even sure I spent the night. I did, I must have spent the night down there. So while it was definitely made for the Southwest, the local reference was out in the Columbia Gorge.
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience of the Black Mesa Research Facility personnel.
Chapter 1, Valve.
My name is Mike Harrington. I was co-founder at Valve. I wasn't really used to big companies. When I started at Microsoft, it wasn't that big. It was like 1,500 people, like a big high school. 9 years later, it was significantly bigger. I'm thinking, oh, this place is too big, and that was still like 1996, so they had a long ways to go. I told my managers like a year before, like I'm leaving in a year, and I'm going to start a game company. And the first person I talked to was a good friend of mine, Michael Abrash. But at that time, he was trying to do something within Microsoft, and by the time it made sense, John Carmack had convinced him to go work at id. So how could he say no to that? And then I was having lunch with Gabe, and I said, Gabe, I'm leaving. I'm just going to leave, and I'm going to start a game company. He goes, I want to leave. I want to start a game company. I go, all right, and that was it.
On the surface, we should have failed. And realistically, both Mike and I thought we would get about a year into it, realize we'd made horrible mistakes, and go back to our friends at Microsoft and ask for our jobs back. But we did think that we knew a fair bit about software development, that there were expertise that goes into it. I think we also had some pretty clear ideas of how to design a company, right? So when we were building Half-Life, we were also designing Valve at the same time.
We had no plan except for, by then, like I mentioned, Michael had gone to id. And he said, oh, you're starting a game company, you have to use our engine. So Gabe and I flew down to Mesquite to meet id. We spent a good deal of time with John Romero, and he told us, like, this is what you need to do to start a game company. You need to go out and hire some level designers and do that kind of thing. And we kind of understood the engineering part. And then, because we were Michael's friends, we walked away with the source code to Quake that day. We had no contract yet. We had kind of an idea of what it could be, and they just gave us a CD, and we had kind of the crown jewels of id.
Yeah.
And that,
basically.
I think most of us had no game development experience. We were either amateurs working in our homes at night for fun, or some people were from the software world, but they had never worked on a game. I think we had 3 or 4 people in the entire company who had actually shipped a game when we started Half-Life. We have to figure out what is Valve's first game. So we have to come up with an IP. So everything is done from scratch.
Gabe came into the office and he said, I read this story. I read this Stephen King story called The Mist. Stephen King, it's got monsters, people in a grocery store, fog comes in, monsters in the fog, use your imagination. We didn't want to write that as a game. That wasn't really the point, but it was just the tension and how it felt.
Well, it was interesting. At first, we had 2 games. Greg was working Prospero, and then Half-Life was originally called Quiver.
My job was then build a team and figure out another game for us to build. That'll be the second game Valve ships. What features should it have? How is it going to be different from a normal first-person shooter?
Every time the engine got a feature for Prospero, Half-Life stole it. And then Half-Life just started getting visually, more impressive. And
I'm going to move my shit because I keep blocking shit. I'm going to move this.
Cooler. And eventually it just, because it was going to ship sooner, it just stole the resources from Prospero, and Prospero just faded away.
I had this character, had like a floating orb, and it wanted to have some effects on it. It's kind of magical energy something. And so I worked with them on that and came up with the first version of the beam effects. And they were using it, they were happy with it. And then people on Half-Life are coming over and like, what is that? How did you do that? So very quickly that got into Half-Life. The disaster sequence has kind of beam effects all over it, and we ended up using it for the Vortigons.
Like, there are a bunch of things that we were doing that we thought would help us tackle the problem of what video games were. And what video games were a rapidly changing field where, at the time, 90% of video games failed to turn a profit. And a few percentage of them were very, very profitable, right? So it was a field that really valued talent.
Like I said, Gabe and I brought some people, and then, from there on out, we had to hire people. And, Romero said you got to hire level designers. So, we found some people who had industry experience.
Worked on Rise of the Triad first as a pixel artist, and then went with Duke Nukem, and then everything just went nuts. But I was sitting in my office one day, and my phone rang, just out of the blue, and I pick it up, and it's this recruiter. Eventually, he hooked me up with Gabe, and they flew me up here. It was a big surprise.
But then we started looking, the nice thing that we had is we had a whole bunch of people in the world who had been working on mods, and so we could start looking at those folks. And that's where we hired a lot of our designers.
Steve and Guthrie, Steve Bunn, John Guthrie were my favorite hires by far. Other than Doug, Gabe sent them an email and they're like, who is this scammer? You know, never heard of these guys. Just kids, like barely 20, I swear. And they show up and they're just the most creative, brilliant.
Clever.
Fucking clever. Steve had the magic ability to make stuff fun.
The fact that those guys have been hired to go work on some game for some company, I think that
it's Gabe right there.
Start for a lot of people to something
all the way at the bottom,
because those guys were already doing stuff that was cool.
And then Mark showed up, and like Mark actually knows how stories work, you know, beginning, middle, end, and all this stuff, and he had all sorts of great ideas, and he also would just, you know, bring good ideas out of everybody else as well.
Like the person who wrote more code on Half-Life was a chemistry major who decided to be an IP lawyer in Atlanta, right? And he ended up writing more code than anybody else. Or the creature designer for most of the AI for the creatures in the game was a manager at a Waffle House. It's not like there are a bunch of people that you could say, oh, this person, you know, has a PhD in video game design. It was that combination of both finding those people when it wasn't necessarily easy to find them at that stage in the video game industry, and then also convincing them that it was a better place to work than anybody else.
It's called Quiver, and I think it's interesting to see how I think it's interesting to see how the industry was back then. It was either you do or you die, and 9 times out of 10 you died. Reactivity.
One of the things that I definitely learned was how to hire engineers. And you know, we needed some engineers.
For us anyway, we had licensed ID's engine, you know, we're using the Quake engine. And one of the things me and some of the other engineers, probably Ken, were talking about was if it would be possible to use the save system to kind of like join our levels together in a really seamless way. So you get to the end of a level, save stuff, and then load some of it on the next level, and have it just feel like, you know, the world's all connected.
And so we had like every once in a while a hallway or the train would get to a point and you would have a little stop for the level to transition. And so he wrote that code leveraged on top of just the save load code to do the transitions. And I think in Half-Life 1 we got most of the transitions were, you know, a second or two.
You know, I remember when we went from 8-bit to 16-bit, like, hey, we don't have to have all our textures fit in a certain, you know, 256 colors. That was a huge liberation.
The two tech investments we made for Half-Life was to get to 16-bit color and skeletal animation for all the monsters.
But at the time it was completely revolutionary. Your Quake characters were, it's like a text file of vertex positions over time.
I wanted so much more animation, and I wanted the animators to have the freedom to put in 100, 200, 500 frame of animation, if not more. And then you can do all sorts of other things because you have a skeleton, so it's like, oh, I can hook on a gun to a character. I can start to make changes of characters
what the fuck
and
is
play the same animation, or we
bro's
use most of the
traumatized.
same model, so we can swap out heads, we can swap out this.
I'm so glad we didn't get money. I'm so glad we did not get fucking minigunners. This shit looks ass.
So we can swap out whatever.
Like all the technology that went into the game to make it as fun as it is was not available one generation before. So licensing the Quake engine, which was, you know, very mature and had level designers who'd grown up just goofing around with it.
I wasn't heavily into scripting since back into Doom. Like my old Doom levels have a lot of weird, odd events in them. I think I asked Ken, is it possible that I could, you know, have access to the character's animation, like a trigger? Like what I mentioned, I could make the guys go into an animation, I could make them run, and then I would configure everything. It was all hack. This is total hacky stuff. And that is mostly what I built. It was like things like characters reacting and jumping out are made to look like, or I'd use a push brush to throw a head crab out to make it look like it launched at something.
Or if a loud sound happened,
they would respond,
would cower.
Gabe's dictate was, as you walked forward, something needs to happen like every 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah.
The player stands still, the
Didn't have to be much.
universe can be quiet. But if they move forward, if they're active, the universe needs to play back something, needs to do something, even if it is a scripted sequence or
even just
little
an interesting sign or
or a sound or some vignette or something.
That's cool, like a
so
switch.
I came up with this interaction method where you could do little AIs where the characters would talk and interact with you a little bit. And then we wanted to do spectacle. And that was scripted sequences where you could tell a character, you need to run here and then jump into this animation, and then have a bunch of you all synchronize your animation because it's somebody flying through the air, they're smashing something, or they're doing something like that.
Yeah, and then test it and figure out like, oh, this is real easy to break. That was the roughest thing about scripted sequences, where you'd have like a head crab jumping on a scientist or something, and it's like, yeah, it works totally fine 90% of the time, but some people just sprint right at the scientist, and sometimes we have to put them behind glass. And
sometimes getting the level designers making the player want to do the thing that gives them the most fun is a very subtle art.
The tentacle sequence is probably the one I remember the most.
You're playing it, right? That was the first time I think they melded together.
Because you had your trigger
so closely,
and we wanted it to be triggered. So by the time you start to see it, you see the scientist flying through the air and hitting the wall. Then you could look in and you could see the scientist being carried away. The tentacle itself is separate; it's on its own, and you bring the two together, mesh them together, and boom.
It felt so seamless though, and that for me was like moments like that, and that might have been the first one, is when you start to see the scripted events and play start to blend a little bit more than just ambience.
For God's sake, open the silo door! They're coming for us! It's our only way out! Oh my God, we're doomed!
I remember Brett in particular had done some of the lab scenes where scientists would walk from one area to another and just look at a monitor. And it gave them a little bit of life. A ton of the work that went into that area was because we knew it was going to be the beginning of the game, and we really needed to make it a vibrant and interesting, fun place to be and explore.
So originally they were designed to sort of be behind glass. They were just designed to be spectacle.
Yeah, a little vignette.
And then all of the level designers like, no, I'm gonna put that right in front of you. And I'm like, oh God, how am I supposed to make this work? It's not supposed to do it.
Get away from there, Freeman. I'm expecting an important message.
The run speed for the player was so insane.
Yeah.
It was like, what, 25 miles an hour or something?
It was sprinting, it was...
You could get so far, so fast. And so you'd either have to make the scripted sequence like so quick that you could barely see what's happening. Most people weren't looking in the right place anyway, so you'd have to like get their attention with like a particle or a sound or lighting or something, and then you wanted them to see what was happening. But when we play tested, and if like a scientist was like being pulled into a vent or something, like people wouldn't just stop and like, oh, sometimes they would be like, oh wow, look at that. They just run straight ahead and just start shooting.
It's hard when you think back to it to recognize that those kind of interactive moments were so new. Like people just hadn't seen them.
It was worth it because no other games were doing that. No other games had that interactivity. No other games had that spectacle playing out in front of you. And it just added that whole feel of Half-Life. Gabe had started to develop this theory around interactivity, and the environment needed to let you do what you wanted and then react to it. So if you did something, if you shot your gun, there needed to be a bullet hole in the wall. If you did a thing, people needed, other characters needed to react. The world is acknowledging you exist. The world is acknowledging all of your actions. And that's this huge part of reinforcement.
And you'd have these conversations where you'd be sitting in a design review and somebody'd say, that's not realistic. And you're like, okay, what does that have to, like, explain to me why that's interesting, because in the real world, I have to write up lists of stuff I have to go to the grocery store to buy. And I've never thought to myself that realism is fun. I go play games to have fun. And so we had to come up with some notion of what fun was. We knew it was an ad hoc definition, and it was the degrees to which the game recognizes and responded to the player's choices and actions, right? You know, in behavioral science, you would say we were explicitly talking about what were reinforcers and what the reinforcement schedules were, right? At that point in time, that was a useful way of making design decisions.
He is so correct, bro. That, I mean, I get it's gay, bro. He's like the godfather of gaming. But he's correct. Why? Who cares if it's fucking realistic? Have fun. Now, obviously, if the game was designed to be realistic, that's different. Call of Duty was always designed to be a realistic military shooter. And then as time went on, they had these goofy ass cat guns and animations and operators. Now, people think that that's just modern COD. If you played games like Black Ops 3, Black Ops 3 had like this shit, bro. You could do this for half-life. You could do this in Black Ops 3, bro. Like, you could do that in Black Ops 3 back in the day, but people think that's just modern. People just think, that's too low. Holy shit. People just think that's just modern Call of Duty. No, old COD did it too. But if the game is designed to be realistic, who cares, right? It's realistic. Who cares? But if the game is just meant to be a fun game, it's not going to be realistic. Let's get real. It's not going to be realistic. And if it is realistic, you're fucking lying to yourself. There are insanely realistic games that have unrealistic things because it's more fun about the realism. Like, I played really realistic, brutal fucking survival games where you have to eat carbs and protein and fats. You can't just eat meat and survive in that game. You have to find plants and bugs and get all your different carbs. That's not fun. I don't like getting 15 fucking resources to keep every little micro health hunger bar full. That's not fun, and that game died out because of that mechanic. Shout out to Green Hell, like he was hella mid. But that's just what fun is. Let's continue.
The point I would make is, if I go up to a wall and shoot it, to me it feels like the wall is ignoring me. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me. So does this, like, to me, I was trying to convey to the user a sense of, yes, you were making choices, yes, you were progressing, which meant the game had to acknowledge that back to you. If you shoot at a wall, there have to be decals. If you kill a bunch of Marines, the Marines have to run away from you, right? You have to have this sense of the game acknowledging and responding to the choices and actions and progressions that you've made. Otherwise, it loses any sort of impact.
Ted and I, we were on the same page in terms of what the game should look like, which would be just sort of alien in a very naturalistic kind of way. Like, these are creatures from another dimension, another planet, that look like they evolved in a way. And Chuck had he came from Duke Nukem. He made a bunch of monsters that went in a sort of a different direction. And for a while, the game had a hard time coalescing around a single vision.
All the ones that looked like genitals were Ted's.
Yeah.
And all the ones with shiny bits that look like alien soldiers were Chuck's.
That was a thing when I first came in, Ted's style and mine.
And trying to figure that
trying
out.
to find the harmony between the two to make it work.
Yeah.
Why is it like this?
He really liked the Wayne Barlow aesthetic, and I had a little bit different, but it worked. Ted made these really weird. He did the head crab. You know, that's pretty much the symbol of it all. And I remember taking his head crab and putting it on a scientist and making the zombie. Right. Well, we pretty much have. We talked, and it's like, okay, we'll do. You do that, and Ted did the soldiers. I did the scientists. I did a lot of the aliens, and with the Hornet gun, I did the Hornet gun for that one as well too. You know, the alien slave. Well, I did some animations for the bull squid or bull chicken. I have to call it.
I can't pick up my fucking webcam.
That's a Ted.
What is going on with my webcam? Hold. Fuck. What is going on with my webcam? Hold on. My webcam is beyond fucked. Hold on. That looks better. Sorry, like something was wrong with my webcam. That looks better.
Well, I did some animations for the bull squid or bull chicken. I have to call him that. But
and I forgot to edit this part. Okay. What the fuck? Hold on. I need to fix this. Do this. Do this. And do that. Make this bigger. I feel like that's too big. Yeah. I think it's better. Yeah. Sorry.
But that's a Ted creature there. The hound eye was Ted's as well.
Yeah, a lot of the fleshy. If it's got a lot of flesh on it, maybe too much.
Yeah, that's a Tedism.
You can always tell Ted's designs because they're much more aquarium than aquarium and/or like unspeakables.
Oh, Big Mama! I forgot about Big Mama. Oh God!
It's a testicle, right? It's like
so disturbed.
I concepted a guy in sort of a NASA spacesuit, a scientist guy. He was actually modeled after a couple of programmers I know. Big, beefy, bearded Linux programmers, And so that's where the HEV suit sort of emerged out of. There was a lot of desire for not having a space marine or a soldier be the guy. And then Chuck Jones went off and did a pretty different version of him that became known as Ivan the Space Biker.
Oh God. I remember telling myself, it's like anytime you make a screenshot, make sure it's good because you don't know where this is going to appear again.
We didn't know that.
And Ivan is the prime example of that one. Sure, so you're looking at, well, go look at Quake. It's like, okay, I'm looking at that, and he's got this incredibly boxy head, and you're always hearing, don't put too many polys in it. And it's like, okay, so Ivan got the square head, and it was kind of an early, just a rough prototype of a Gordon Freeman baby. And I remember we didn't know what Gordon looked like. So it's like I was looking for somebody and I found Mike Harrington. It's like, Mike, what does Gordon look like? I don't know. Put yourself in there. It's like, oh, okay. And so I went in and put kind of my likeness on the early Gordon model in the game. And it kind of stayed there.
Did you have a ponytail?
I was ex-tattoo artist, so yeah, I definitely had. I don't have anything to work with now, but yeah, that point I had a ponytail on.
If you play the game, you know that it's Chuck. If you play multiplayer and you see the model, it's.
But yeah, if you look on the back of that, there's this little four triangles, and he's got a little ponytail back there. I did the G-Man, and again, that one was Gabe was talking about the Cigarette Man from X-Files. So we needed our own equivalent of that.
Because after a while, after playing with the game for a long time, people realized like, hey, we made this character, and just in this one office scene in the beginning, where he's behind the window and he's talking to a scientist or something, and he's like, he looks really creepy. It was late in the day that we thought, oh, okay, well, he's going to be the big bad behind all of this. Like scatter him around in places that you can't get to him, but he's there mysteriously.
There wasn't enough in the beginning of the game. It's like we need another monster. Head crabs weren't enough. It got kind of repetitious. I think I grabbed Ted and said, I need them to do this and this. And so he whipped it out in not much time at all. I'm gonna get the timing just right, and I have no time to do this, so I'm just gonna bang it out. And then once it was working, everybody said, oh, let's go back and sprinkle them back in the maps. And that was
because we introduced them a little earlier than we were planning.
Because they weren't real tough. They weren't supposed to be tough.
But they were ranged.
But they're ranged, and they were fun, and they had a big show, and like that was showing off a bunch of stuff.
I remember the assassin came in pretty late.
That was it. It was like, okay, I have a week and a half. It was already done, it was already all modeled, already all animated, and the requirement was it couldn't have any new animations and any new anything. So had to come up, I grabbed a bunch of Steve Bond's AI and banged that thing out. I built a level super crude, but it had all the right spacing and all the right heights and all the right geometry.
Again, it's just a presentation where this creature gets to shine, this enemy gets to shine, and is your entire focus for that scene. And it's kind of a memorable experience because it just takes place in a different fashion than other encounters, and you get knocked out, and there's all kinds of the lights go out, and you get dragged through a corridor and things. So again, it's something you remember in the game. We just did a lot of playtesting and did a lot of level building and used all of the monsters and used everything that we had developed and started seeing which ones kind of stuck out a little oddly. Like we had the hound eyes that Ted had concepted and Kelly had done great sounds for them. And so they seemed like a very oddly plausible sort of alien creature. And Chuck did what we called the panther eye, which was this big black panther looking creature that also just had a big red eye for his face and a big shark fin coming out the back. And design wise, he seemed like this is a very useful creature. It's like when you design things, you like to have a gradient of difficulty, a gradient of escalation and threat. And so if we had these hound eyes, then yes, this panther, bigger, scarier looking thing would be more of a threat. It was in the game for a long time, and then it sort of just worked its way out because folks couldn't find a way to incorporate a creature like that into the environment and make it seem reasonable.
The Stuka bat was it was something that I did. Just another creature from the air. We had the chub toad that we were going to use as a feeding animal to help, and they had a mechanic to where they were going to use this to distract monsters so you could possibly get by, and it pretty much reached fruition to where we created the object, but then again, time became the factor and it had to get cut.
grew up just outside DC, and so there's all these like big, really banal office buildings, and that's kind of the direction I went. So it started becoming a facility. And so I started making these kind of linoleum tiles and the drop ceiling, the concrete block wall, the black and white tile floor.
She was like the texture artist for for most of the game. Yeah, right. It's just an overwhelming amount of work.
Originally, I was hand painting all of the textures, and you can really see a shift in some of them where they go from hand painted to photo reference. The photo references are much, much better. So I was all over Seattle, Harbor Island, Gasworks Park, getting rusty metal things. What can I get good pictures of that is vaguely industrial and interesting to look at? And then how can we use this? And so,
That's
sides of boxcars, and I don't know how many hallways in Half-Life are, the side of a train car kind of thing. The Kirkland Costco, a lot of time in the Kirkland Costco, getting just packages of, I don't know why I needed snacks or something.
The first year was all about opportunity, and it wasn't quite as focused. We were finding our footing.
We were getting into the 3 months before supposedly shipping in '97, and it's like, this isn't gelling. This is really not good. This is like, quick knockoff, cash grab, stupid, and let's not do that. There was a lot of disconnect between what all of the different groups were doing, what engineering was doing and what level design was doing and what animation was doing. We had a bunch of monsters that had no plans to get in the game because nobody else was assigned to work on them, and we had a bunch of levels that like, what's supposed to go in here? Oh, I don't know, everybody's gonna do a bunch of stuff, and like, no, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So here we were, all these people doing all these cool things, and just everything's just this random collection of, oh, here's a cool moment and a cool this, and and then it's gone, and oh, now on to the next thing. Because the way we were building the game was, every level designer was kind of his own silo, his own universe. And I think that just grew out of our, kind of mod developer roots, but it wasn't cohesive, and it certainly didn't have a strategy for like maximizing any of that stuff.
You must have been in the meeting when we reviewed all the levels. It was like the first time everybody piled into a room, right? And Gabe had his crazy Hellraiser chair with the beautiful Mac monitor, and we played for 2 days. He played everyone's levels. But I remember one moment he turned around. He was like this with his hair. He's going, "We're gonna fail. We're gonna fail. We're gonna fail. We're gonna fail. We're gonna fail." And I was just like, it blew me away. I was like, "Oh shit, this isn't good."
We were doing our best trying to make this game and the story, and we had a schedule from Sierra, and it was a tight schedule.
I'm gonna grab some water and we'll continue. Hello. I found some gum. It's actually interesting to hear that every employee was like their own child, their own universe. If you think about it, that's kind of how Valve works nowadays. Valve is very open. Every coder can do their own thing. And it's gotten so bad that the developers had to cut back. This was recent. So, interesting how they're talking about it now, that they do it today, or they did do it today. But a couple of months ago, they recently started changing their work. But that's kind of also a bad thing. If you treat your people like that, that's the people who you work for. I mean, you're working under a company, and you're not doing anything. You're just sitting here jerking off all day, talking to your colleagues, and then going home. You're not doing anything. You're just jerking off all day. That's why it took them so long to make Half-Life 3. That's why it took them so long to make Half-Life Alyx. They saw Half-Life Alyx and go, oh, this is cool, let's do this. They weren't thinking, oh, yeah, the VR market can be crazy. That's invested into it. No, they just thought the VR feel was cool, and they wanted to use their magic Valve touch on the VR market. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think Half-Life Alyx is the best game ever for VR. But that didn't do shit for the market. More people were interested in the VR market, but it didn't give birth to a whole new generation of VR games. The Half-Life Alyx to this day is still the best VR game. And that sucks because the Half-Life Alyx was designed to introduce people into VR. And instead, it became the only reason why people played VR for a little bit. We're talking about new people who never played VR in their life. Half-Life Alyx, people like the Half-Life franchise. That's why Half-Life Alyx. After you play Half-Life Alyx, there's no other game that can compete with it. Of its quality, of its story quality, of everything. Valve has that magic touch to do anything magically, unless it's CS2 or if Team Fortress 2. Although Team Fortress 2 is pretty old now. But when they do something and they stick with it, they'll ace it. Unless CS2. But half the time they jerk off. Sure, they made Steam and they update Steam, but they haven't made a new game since Half-Life Alyx and CS2. They're making like 2 different Half-Life games right now, but besides that, there hasn't really been much. So it's weird that they're criticizing themselves now. I mean, they're like, every man was for himself. That's how it is nowadays. That's why in a recent post, Valve said, "Hey, we're going back to the old days. We're changing. We're all working together." They made the same mistake recently over the last couple of years. So that's pretty interesting. Anyways, back to the video.
And we told them, we're not going to ship this. And we realized that you're not going to pay us to continue developing this, but we're going to do it anyway.
Late is just for a little while.
What?
And
it blew me away. I was like, oh shit, this isn't good.
We were doing our best. trying to make this game and the story. And we had a schedule from Sierra, and it was a tight schedule. And we told them, like, we're not going to ship this. And we realized that you're not going to pay us to continue developing this, but we're going to do it anyway.
Late is just for a little while, suck is forever, right? We could try to force this thing out the door, but that's not the company we want to be. That's not the people we want to be. That's not the relationship we want to have with our customers.
And so Kelly and I kind of sat down and sort of tried to take an inventory of all the cool stuff we had built, and why weren't we just, building more on top of that? And those discussions kind of led to us building this kind of design cabal process to try to give some cohesion to the game and kind of changing the way we were approaching it.
And so a cabal was a small group of people, multidisciplinary group. There's like an artists, level designers, engineers, and everything in that. And a small team that would write up a spec for a level. There was the arc that
I
Mark
knew
had
that
written,
place.
so we knew how that fit into the story.
And we got a small group of people together, and we started with the beginning, and we went through literally what map do we need to build.
Oops. Let's all get real. Valve can't count the 3. That could change, but I think it won't, because we were supposed to get Left 4 Dead 3, that got canceled, and we have Half-Life X. We have HLX, but that's called Half-Life X, not Half-Life 3. So while it will be Half-Life 3, it's not called Half-Life 3. They can't count the 3, guys. They can't count the 3. Go back to school. Learn your numbers. Bro, stop reading my shit.
With the beginning, and we went through literally what map do we need to build to tell us the story we're going to tell, and then what does that connect to, and what's the next piece and the next piece.
The strongest and most influential thing that came out of them was...
All right, on that comment, I want to talk. Oh my god, is this seriously the level for Blast Pit? Dang, Blast Pit crazy. Too bad I hate this fucking level. I'm being honest with you. I would prefer if Valve made new games. I don't want them to remake Half-Life because we already have a Black Mesa. I don't want them to remake Half-Life 2 because there's already being a remake in Source 2. I think they should not remake CSS. They should work on new games. Sure, CS2 was hella fucking mid. But I think CS2 has potential. They just gotta work on it and fix it, right? Besides that, like, I think there's a lot of There's a lot of people want remakes. People want remasters. And that's cool. But that's not something you ask Valve to do. They'll update the game like how they did with Half-Life Anniversary. But they've tried things like Half-Life Source. Now that wasn't really a remake, that was just porting it to Source, which obviously broke the fucking game. But Valve doesn't want to do remakes and remakes. They know the community can do it. Black Mesa is proof that if people want a remake that bad, they'll make it themselves. People are, like I said, people got access to Source 2 early from Valve, and they're working on Half-Life 2. It's Source 2. There's a group remaking Half-Life 2 in Source 2. And we're going to be getting a Half-Life, maybe getting a Black Mesa Blue Shift made by a whole other studio that isn't Crowbar Collective. Valve knows this. Valve and Steam will do the same thing, but Valve knows they don't have to make a remake. The community will remake the game. As long as they give you the resources, like the Source engine and the Source 2 engine, eventually they'll do it themselves. People don't want a CSS remake. That's why no one made it yet. That's why no one attempted it. People love Half-Life. Yeah, I hope it is great as well. But Source 2 is very hard to obtain. Half-Life Alyx created Source 2, but that was just for VR. There's a lot of models and a lot of things unfinished about Source 2. Same with CS2. CS2 added new things and added new shit to Source 2, but Source 2 isn't done yet. So I think the main takeaway, Source 2 isn't public yet. But when it is, imagine Gary's Mod 2. We could have a sequel to Gary's Mod in Source 2. But because Source 2 is not currently available, you need special permission by the developers. Valve knows this. When it's ready, they'll release Source 2 to the public. That's what they've always done. They've always been pro-consumer. They will release Source 2. And when they release Source 2, people will have the resources. As long as they have the budget and they have the people and they have whatever they need, they'll remake anything. As long as you have permission by Valve and you have the resources, you can do it. It's just simple. Valve won't remake the game. That's a waste of time and money. Why would you spend another like $60 on the same game but better graphics and some slightly better content? Like, I guess the counter argument is something like, Source 2 filmmaker, is Source 2 filmmaker actually public yet? Oh, okay. It is available. But okay. Source film is different from Source engine. Obviously it's Source 2, but it isn't the entire engine. You can't make a whole ass game in Source film, right? That's different. That's just the film. That's not the actual engine itself. So I think Valve will never do a remake of that degree. They'll let the community do it. But I'm happy to do that. I'm happy that Valve is one of those companies that aren't afraid to do new things. They're gonna do Half-Life 3, which is Half-Life X. They're gonna do Alyx 2. It was canceled, but they might one day bring back Left 4 Dead 3. They might make Portal 3. They might make. I mean, they're doing Deadlock. I don't really like hero shooters, but they're making a Overwatch competitor. Valve does new shit. They don't live in the old. They don't make old shit. They make new shit. Like, obviously for the anniversary, they added in new content and did new stuff to Source 2. I meant to Half-Life 1. But that's not Valve. Valve is never about remaking old shit. It's always about being innovative and making new things. That's what Half-Life Alyx was. Half-Life Alyx was designed to bring people into the VR market. But instead, because of how ambitious and how much money and how much power Steam has, they made the best VR game of all fucking time. That's the thing. When Valve does something, they do it right. CS2, why was CS2 mid? Why was... Free upgrade. What do you think it is? It's the 5th installment. Jesus Christ. So they can't count the 3, but they can count the 5. Sounds about right. At least they're updating the game still, but okay, besides CS2, which is the worst Valve game of all time, that's one game. That's one game. I don't know about Dota and their other projects, but every single other Valve game hit success. Even the fucking Steam Deck tutorial game that takes place in Portal is good. That's the thing, bro. Everything Valve does, perfected. Not good, not bad, perfected. Unless it's CS2. Now, I'm hoping this trend doesn't continue. I'm hoping Valve learns from their mistakes and CS3 or CS 2.5 or whatever the future of CS is, it's better. I'm hoping that the next Half-Life game, Half-Life 3, isn't fucking mediocre. I'm just hoping Valve learns from this. Alright, we're getting hella sidetracked. Let's get back to the video.
To me, the sketches, and they were really the visual meeting notes, right?
We came up with a formula for how that worked. We had a certain percentage of the time where you were fighting, a certain percentage of the time where you're exploring, a certain percentage of the time where you're solving puzzles. And so we could apply that uniformly through the game, and that worked pretty well.
Testing.
Residents.
Seems to be in order.
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience of the Black Mesa Research Facility personnel.
The whole opening of the game was specifically a reaction to how all the other first-person shooters were, whether they had cutscenes or not. Like sometimes, like they would just open without a cutscene, but you know you're standing in a room with a gun and there's a thing attacking you. So we could look at examples of all that, and I think there was expectation that that's what Half-Life had to do because every other game was doing it.
I can tell you the number of people who started up the game, were staring at it, and then accidentally bumped their mouse and realized this is live.
Yeah.
And as simple as that sounds, it was mind-blowing for so many people because there was too much going on. This isn't real time, this is a recording, you know.
That was sort of the way we, stumbled through a lot of the new narrative tricks. Was like, well, what can we do that you could do this in a movie or a story, but nobody's doing this in first-person shooters.
You're this anonymous scientist and you're writing on this train into work and rolled the credits at the beginning. It was kind of like a cinematic experience almost. Like I don't think games had really gone down that road. It's so funny to look at it now because it's so primitive, but at the time it felt like you were really in this Black Mesa world.
Pre-disaster survived from the first year, so a lot of that geometry was from that first version of the game, but in a very minimal way, right? Just the basic style of some of the hallways, the curved corners in the hallways, things like that. They more became sort of like Lego pieces that John could use and stitch together and extrude. And I know Brett did a lot of the raw geometry from pre-disaster, and then John did most of the work to ship it, and then the post and the train ride was all John, I think.
The Sector C, so those are heavily influenced by NASA control rooms, with my favorite green hammerite, really influenced a lot of like we started with the kind of the consoles. I'm trying to remember, and then there was just lots of hallways and people were getting lost, and I did the color stripes to help people follow them places.
One of the things that was actually super exciting was how quotidian a lot of it really was. You know, the lunchroom with the microwave, you press the button and it would go splat.
My God, what are you doing?
Yeah, all this work so you can start a microwave and blow up some soup, which was a reference to real life, because that happened regularly. Like, we regularly accidentally blew up.
It was Play-Doh mostly, wasn't it?
There were a few people who were just, challenged with kitchen appliances, and at one point we had a company fire. we had a lot of things going on in that kitchen.
All of that stuff had a real kind of eloquence that in the late 90s, in a world where everything was so over the top, but we still got to go on flights of fancy.
Welcome to the HEV Mark IV.
I think like a super pivotal moment for me was when we came in this one morning and we saw the test chamber sequence that Kelly and John.
Yeah, before they talk about Residence, this is a really impressive game. I think, like, yeah, it was pretty much a direct about culture, but just the fact that this was a game back then, like, just think about how ambitious of a fucking game this was. To have all these animations and 3D shit. Like, Half-Life was such a... I'll say it to my grave. Half-Life, it's a crazy fucking game for its age. No. Right here, hold on. But look at something crazy. Look at Half-Life 2. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Bitch. Look at Half-Life 2. Look at this water, right? Look at the water. This is in-game footage. This game came out in 2004. Also, when did Halo come out? Oh, that doesn't like cast. That's 2000. But look at this. Look at this game. This game came out in 2006. This fucking ugly ass game. I mean, this was cool. It did some cool things, but this game came out fucking... This came out 2 years after Half-Life 2 came out. Look at this fucking quality. Like, look at the water here versus this. This is 2004. This is 2006. Now, obviously, it's an open world game. It's a bit different. But even, like, look at games like Dead Space. Okay? Look at this. I mean, this is pretty impressive because Dead Space 1 is a very impressive game. But look at something like Dead Space, which is 2008. That's 4 years after Half-Life 2. And look at it compared to this. That's crazy, bro. Let's see. Resident Evil 4. So Resident Evil 4 came out, I think roughly 2007-ish to 2006-ish. Look at its water. Look at how, I mean, it's a really pretty game as well, but look at this compared to this. It's like, people say that Half-Life 1 is an impressive game, and it is. Half-Life 1 is the first major 3D first-person shooter, and it has all these crazy, like, the characters have, like, their mouths moves. Like, I know I'm glazing an old-ass fucking game, but the fact that that's even, like, a thing in the first place is fucking wild. Like, the fact that that's even, like, that's even a thing, and then Half-Life 2, like, there's no game like Half-Life 2 at that time. Which is why I'm saying, like, when Valve does something, they'll ace it. Unless CSGO 2. But when Valve does something, it'll be innovative. That's what happened with Half-Life Alyx. That's what happened with Portal. That's what happened with Left 4 Dead. When Valve does something, it will be groundbreaking. Now, I'm not saying Half-Life 3 will be groundbreaking because there's been so much shit. There's been so many new games and so many new technology that Half-Life 3 might not be innovative. It might have new innovative things in it, but I don't think Half-Life 3 will be the next big fucking game ever. Like I think it'll be the next big game, like how GTA 6 is the next biggest game ever created. But I don't think Half-Life 3 will be like a super crazy innovative game like how Half-Life 1 and 2 were that innovative, or Half-Life Alyx was that innovative. Because we're in a time period where technology is being really pushed, and nothing's that innovative anymore, unless they come up with some sort of crazy idea that I can't even think of. So, yeah, I'm just saying, bro, that when Valve does something other than CS2, they don't exceed expectations. They break them. By the time you play the game and you beat it, you won't know what the fucking expectation is. They break everything and do everything to the point where any game, like imagine playing Half-Life 2 and then having to play other video games for the next 4 to 5 fucking years. Back then, there was Roblox, but Roblox fucking sucked. Back then, you didn't have Terraria, you didn't have Minecraft, you didn't have, I don't remember when GTA 4 came out, but you didn't have, like, you had like probably like Halo 2 or Halo 3, but you didn't really have super innovative games like Crysis or Dead Space until 2008, 2013. You would play Half-Life 2, and you had to play all these other fucking games that were so mediocre. It's like Half-Life Alyx. Half-Life Alyx is like Half-Life 2 all over again. Half-Life 2 had this amazing graphics, these amazing physics. It did all this amazing shit. And then Half-Life Alyx is the next best VR game ever. There's no, like, let me show you something. Let me show you the Batman Arkham Knight. I think it's Arkham Shadow. Yeah, but anyways, they just released a brand new trailer for this game. This is supposed to be a triple A. This is supposed to be a triple A game. Is this it? Yeah, this is supposed to be a triple A game like Half-Life Alyx. Just watch it. Watch it and let me know if this even competes with Half-Life Alyx. Let me know if it even competes.
This rat cult spreads through Gotham like a plague. I have to stop it, even if it consumes me.
The corrupt system has failed you. Are you not angry? Fight back!
It's the freaking bat! We aren't afraid of you! The bat dies tonight!
Jim, this Rat King could be anywhere. A face in the crowd, a foot soldier in his own fanatical mob. So how in the hell do we find him?
Targets are all city employees, civil servants, public officials.
You could have been more than a symbol. You could have been a god.
Look out!
If you don't calm down, someone's going to die.
Alfred, we tried it your way, now we do it mine.
Something big's going down tonight. We repress our rage, our fears. It feeds the shadow deep inside us.
You're everything that's wrong with Gotham! I'm done holding back! I can bring the Rat King to you.
Okay, now some people are like, yo, that's pretty cool. Now I do have to say one thing before I show you the Half-Life 2, the Half-Alyx trailer again. This is a Meta Quest 3 exclusive. You can't play this on PC VR. So I guess it looks good for a strictly VR game. There's no PC VR. This is your VR headset doing all the work. I guess that's impressive that there's no PC involved. But at the same time, just look at this, bro. Just look at this.
I'm here. So what's the plan?
If we can get this weapon, what we're doing here could change things forever.
There's no straight shot to the vault. I'm gonna head inside, find a way out. Got it.
I'm with you every step of the way.
You're gonna need a gun! Don't worry, it's unloaded. It's unloaded now! Combined chatter's really picking up. They know you're coming. You need to get out of here, now. Oh, God.
They've got Dad.
They're gonna find out what he knows, and then they're gonna kill him.
All this is my fault. I never told you. I couldn't. I'm so sorry, baby.
You will not save him. Alex Vance alone cannot prevent his fate.
Close your eyes, honey.
That like look at how much better that looks. Like sure you need a PC to run it, but that compared to like, and Half-Life Alyx, what? That came out in 2020, 2021? I meant 2019. When did Half-Life Alyx come out? 2020. 2020, and the next Batman game is supposed to come out this year. Do you see, like, there's no game like Half-Life Alyx. That's the thing. And they're going to make another game because they're releasing another VR headset eventually. They're working on another VR game. That's the thing, bro. Like no game can compete with Half-Life. I mean, with Valve. Valve has some of the best franchises. They have some of the best like pro consumer shit. They have like the workshop. They have just Steam, the best launcher of any PC. Why use fucking Epic Games for one free game every month or week? Who cares? You have Steam. You could buy a game, get Steam points, and then buy cosmetics for your avatar. You get rewarded for buying games. You could buy emojis. You could talk to your friends. You could do all this shit that take Epic Games years to fucking implement. That's why it's such a big deal. And I don't think Half-Life 3 will be the most innovative game of all time. We are finally in a society where we're finally pushing the boundaries of software and hardware. It's getting harder and harder every day to make the game look better, feel better, and run better. There's not much more games to do. This is an actual, the next Half-Life game is an actual Half-Life game. It's not VR, it's an actual PC game. You play with your keyboard and mouse. It's an actual fucking game. I'm just saying, bro. People don't realize how big of a deal Valve is. They don't realize what Valve has done for this industry. They don't realize that shit. Like, I've always been an Xbox fan, but when I got introduced to PC and I got introduced to Valve, I was like, dude, I was missing out on so much shit. It's crazy. You don't understand what Valve has done for gaming in general. Oh, Nintendo is dominating the console market. Steam Deck, you can play PC games on the go without another device. You could just play fucking Half-Life 2. You could just play Terraria. You can just play all these crazy fucking games on the Steam Deck. Sure, it's a little fucking expensive, but then they make a whole fucking, hold on. I forget what it was. I think, hold on. I don't know what the game is actually called. Yeah, it's Aperture's desk job. Hold on. This is a simple game that's just supposed to show you what the index does. I meant the Steam Deck.
My name's Grady. That is your inspection desk. You are a product inspector. You think your job is bad? Well, your job is bad.
Now, this is like a 30-minute game. It's not that big of a deal, but it shows off more of what the Source 2 can do. You get voice acting. There's a story. It expands Aperture Science. It expands Portal lore. It expands Half-Life lore. This one game that's for free, it's like 30 minutes, and it introduces you to the Steam Deck. It's still a fucking game, and it's still cool as shit. No other game, no other console, when you buy a new Xbox every generation, they're not releasing a free Halo game, or they're not releasing a game to showcase the next Xbox. They're not making a whole game to introduce like VR for PlayStation. Only Valve does this. They'll make Half-Life Alyx just to sell a fucking VR. They'll make a 30-minute short game for more lore and more shit with Aperture Science. They'll just do that because why the fuck not? Valve does that shit. That's cool as hell. Anyways, enough glaze. We have a fucking video to watch.
I think like a super pivotal moment.
I need more fucking water. Hold on. I ate all this food and it has so much fucking salt in it. It's not even funny. Like I am overloaded with salt and I'm getting dehydrated so fucking fast. Give me 1 sec. I'm only gonna throw away all my junk. I have a lot of junk on my desk. It's all gotta go. It's gotta go. But yeah, just let that shit sink in, though. Let that shit sink in. Okay? Let it sink in. This might take a bit longer than I thought. I have all of my trash bags are full. Oh shit, hold on, I'm on the wrong side. I need to quickly I need to get myself another trash bag. I need to fill up my trash bag in the basement. Alright, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna throw all my shit away. All right. Fuck. It's already 8 o'clock. I haven't done shit today. Let's lock in. We still have a whole 30 minutes of this video to watch.
For me, was when we came in this one morning and we saw the test chamber sequence that Kelly and John Guthrie and Wedge was in that office, and Dario Driller, they were all in this corner dark office where so much cool stuff happened. But so Kelly and John stayed up all night and did the test chamber sequence, and it's pretty much like the one we shipped.
I mean, that was a lot of what went on in that room that we called the submarine. It was just improvisation, you know, just what can we do to solve this problem? How do we connect what's happening before to what's happening after? This needs to be somehow important, but we just don't know what to do. John and I talked about it. I went home that night and I sort of sketched out, like, you know, maybe we could do something cinematic. We'll take the camera away, we'll turn the lights off, we'll do sounds, we'll just throw everything we can at it. You know, we built that basically that day. You know, it was just a sort of a one-day throw it together. That's how fast we were moving.
They had audio, right? We had
Yeah,
the script.
yeah, it's like the heartbeat and the breathing, all that stuff was in there. And I played through it and it was like, damn, I have not seen this in any medium, in anything before, experienced something like this, where this immersive experience of this actually happening like this. And at that point, it's like, okay, I see what it is we're doing. And it's this kind of immersive, unbroken experience that happens to you, the player. And then that was this key principle about how, you know, we never take you out of that role.
Personally, the difference between before the disaster sequence and after the disaster sequence, I felt we really had, I had an understanding that this product was going to be special, or it was going to be possible, it was going to be tied together. Whereas before that, there was a lot of really good stuff and a lot of little things all disconnected. But you guys managed to tie two very different parts of the game together really well, and I thought, oh, okay, now I feel like we're on a track for finishing this product. To me, it shifted my brain to have a lot of confidence that this product's coming together rather than I'm just generating a lot of content that exists independently of other content.
One of the ways we were funding our development was we sold a preview copy of Half-Life to a video card company, I forget which one. And so they had in their contract that we had to deliver it to them by a certain date. And we got like the first 3 levels done for them. It was really a good milestone for us, just, you know, from working as a company, because hey, there was a deliverable. We got it done. And, you know, we shipped it off to them. And then I swear the next day it leaked. And I was just livid at first, which was stupid. But I was just like, oh, I can't believe you guys let this get out. Like, you know, this wasn't us, you know. And then it turned into something amazing where people started playing it. And it was all over, and we started, you know, seeing it, you know, online, what people were thinking about it. And I forget which magazine who said, usually we don't review, you know, beta software, but they reviewed it and said, this is awesome. And that gave us a tremendous amount of confidence. You know, it was an outside validation of what we were trying to do, you know, that it was the right thing.
Hello.
I think just with first-person shooters already, they were kind of like the vowels of weapons you put into first-person. You got to have a shotgun, and there's obviously a pistol. You know, you need your weapon that's going to make you struggle and you drive you to get another weapon.
That was a lesson in how to make all of your weapons as orthogonal as possible, so each one did something completely different. All of the crazy weapons, those are my fault. So I did like the rocket launcher and the Gauss gun and the snarks.
Oh, I like snarks. Snarks always made me laugh. It was just always funny to watch people run away from the snarks.
The squeak grenade. Yeah, it's called the snark, but I wanted something, little creature that you could bring up and hold, and you could throw it out and it would just start running. Because people were camping and everybody hated campers at that point. So you wanted the anti-camp weapon. But it was kind of, you could literally find a little hidey hole and just sit out there and just throw out 30 of them. And they're all over the map. I had a cat. and you'd sit there, you do your finger blue, yeah, you do your finger towards him, and he'd get mad at you and he'd swat. So that was the inspiration for that particular animation. And then the other, that big alien creature with the, we needed some kind of alien weapon. Drew that one, built that one, animated that one, but that was also another one that whenever you could get in a corner and just shoot them in the air because the hornets would track. I think that was the biggest thrill, is brainstorming these with your crew, making them, building them, putting them in the game, and then playing with them, and then they're fun.
So there's sort of a trope of having a melee weapon. I think it was Steve Bond and Ken Birdwell and I were saying we wanted a device where the world was reacting to you. It really goes back to that theory of fun. But we were just running around like idiots, smacking the wall. It's an odd thing to know in retrospect, but at the time it felt profoundly satisfying to be able to smack walls. And that was just an example of how that fairly abstract notion of what fun was ended up.
This shit is still fun, bro. It's because of the sound effects. I love taking the Half-Life crowbar and just... I love doing that shit. That shit's fun as fuck. I love the crowbar. I just love... You bet your ass I'm gonna keep doing that. Shit's fun as fuck. Come on, bro. I love the crowbar. Gabe was right. This shit's fun. I love smacking walls and windows and fucking shit. I don't care if it doesn't do anything. It makes a goofy ass sound effect.
Translating into a set of
also, yes, Gabe is that fucking old. His hair is white. We're in dark times.
Decisions that were really visceral. When you're going around whacking a wall, a crowbar is an obvious thing to whack the wall with.
If the sound could let you know what's going to happen, that's really makes it powerful. So we're always on the lookout for that in level design, in monster design, communicating, because the AI is often hidden from the player. So we use the sound to broadcast the internal state of the AI. You know, soldiers, they tell you, I'm injured, I'm going to throw a grenade, I'm taking cover. You know, they are broadcasting as constantly as they can what's about to happen. So it was really important to try to keep those states distinct so that as you play the game, you're actually, whether you're aware of it or not, you're starting to be able to tell what's about to happen.
We knew he was a musician too, so he could do sounds, but you know, he also decided he was going to write the sound engine. And then he wrote the soundtrack. And he'd never written a soundtrack.
Please, Stu, please show hazardous environments, bro. Let's show fire, fucking. Please, bro.
Track before, and he wrote the whole, soundtrack for the game, and it won an award, and it was crazy.
There just weren't that many of us. I had a little bit of a background playing music. I understood the sound engine really well, so it was really easy for me to just hook sounds in. And I understood enough about the level design side that I could kind of connect those things a little bit. The sounds could come from anywhere, and then I just heavily modified them. Usually those are animal sounds, reversing, changing the pitch, chopping them up and rearranging them. Head crabs were rats. The little squeaky, yeah, that's a rat slowed way, way down and then reversed.
Yeah, the DSP stuff was another cool thing that Kelly built. When you got an event, it sounded like you were an event, and that wasn't really happening, I guess, at least in Quake and other games I was playing back then.
We had these huge silos, these cavernous spaces. The day they had their own echoey DSP, it made an enormous difference, right? You believed the space.
Kelly tells me, oh God, Chuck Jones asked him if the characters could speak and have their mouths move. And Kelly said, that's super easy. I could just look at the audio and see if they're talking and do that. But like getting their mouth to move is stupid, he says to me. And I look, Chuck Jones told me the same thing. I told him making the mouths move was super trivially easy, but knowing when they're talking and knowing how to follow the envelope of the speech would be impossible.
Which is why I was saying, bro, these shit is like for 1998, and it's a really 3D game of all these crazy echoes and like animations and all the shit. This much detail for 1998, and their mouths move.
Kelly and I just both looked at each other and like, oh. And so I went back to my office and he went back to his office. And I think within an hour, the characters were talking and their mouths were moving. And it was only because we sat there at lunch bitching about an animator who was 100% right.
Why are you leaving me here?
Scientist conversations, Kelly and I made that. When they're next to each other, one scientist will occasionally play a question and the other one will give him an answer. And it's not a script, it just might be.
I wasn't there, but I was there early
I am
on
rather looking forward
in
to
the
this
early
analysis,
2000s,
aren't you?
early 2000s.
I don't think so.
But it had a bunch of personality. It was really cool. And I worked on getting those guys to look at you and turn their heads.
When we first added the ability for scientists to respond to the player and other things in the environment, I would call them response rules. The first time that went in, they came flying down the elevator, and one of them looks at you and goes, "Oh, hello, Gordon." And then they explode into a pile of jibs at the bottom.
Hello, the automatic diagnostic and announcement system welcomes you to the Black Mesa Research Facility. Remember, have a secure day.
I hadn't really started working on the biggest part of the game, which I ended up shipping, which was surface tension, prior to then. A lot of the work that I had done was the alien research labs, which turned into questionable ethics, and all of that was ditched. There were some concepts made it through, but everything was rebuilt from zero. But you know what did make it through was Power Up. Yeah, basically that geometry survived completely intact. It was so closely designed for that creature that because the creature survived, the levels survived along with it. Yeah, there's this sort of central circular.
I just remember back when like companies weren't greedy. Like I was on the brink of them being greedy, but I remember back in the day when Black Ops 2 first came out, or Dead Space 2 first came out, or Crysis came out, Halo 3 came out. I just remember when like all these crazy games came out, and it just seems like everybody lost their way. Like they're just greedy ass corporations who just want your money, and it's really sad. Which is why like I really only stick to certain games. Like I played my favorite game of all time is Terraria, or you can call it Terraria. But I've been playing that game since it came out. I was like 3 to 4 years old. It was 2009 at the time. I was born in 2006. That was one of the first ever games I played. But I didn't play on launch day, but I played it the week it launched. I'm that OG player, bro. I've been playing Terraria since it basically came out. And I've stuck with it. I'm glad I have. Back when Unity was doing their bullshit, Relogic was giving money out to other they gave their money out to other like engines, because like that's just like what that is. But my second favorite game is Warframe. Say what you will about Dual Extremes, but Warframe is a free-to-play looter shooter with some of the best microtransactions in all of gaming. You get access to the entire game for free, and if you do want to spend money, you can trade with other players for platinum. I mean, I've spent money in the game, but I have a friend, who has basically everything I do but some cosmetics, he has spent a dime. And the game isn't even that grindy for those resources. I love Warframe. I love Terraria. I love Valve. Valve is a whole bigger corporation with tons of IPs. Valve, besides CS2 and some other things, Valve is one of the very few companies still to this day that haven't succumbed to greed. And it's sad because like not only big as that, but like they're kind of like outcasts now. Sure, literally everyone and their mother worships Valve, but that's only because that they never went to the greedy ass age. If every single company was like Valve, people wouldn't be worshiping Valve. Because there's like, why would you worship multiple gods? Well, you would for like religious reasons, but normally people would stick to one god as their main god, right? Like, but because every company became greedy and became all bullshittery, guess what happened? Valve became the king. True, they make games like this. They make games like Half-Life 2, which I said it before you joined my stream. I was comparing games like Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 and Oblivion. I was comparing those games that came out multiple years after Half-Life 2, and Half-Life 2 looks better than all of them. Maybe not Dead Space, but yeah, Portal 2. But it's like Valve has always pushed it. I just showed one Freeman the new Arkham Batman VR game. Its trailer versus Half-Life Alyx. It's revolutionary. Like, there's no game like Half-Life Alyx to this day, which is sad because Half-Life Alyx was supposed to bring people into the VR market. And instead, it became the one-all and be-all. There's no game like Half-Life Alyx. Once you play Half-Life Alyx, it ruins every other VR game. Well, no, technically not, but from an actual AAA story and graphical standpoint, there's no game like Half-Life Alyx and its immersion. Yeah, it's like PlayStation and Mountain Dew and other sponsor companies. You don't have to drop $1,000 on a VR. Do you have a computer? I'm assuming you do. But you need a computer and you need a VR. It's a PC VR game. You might know this, but I'm going to say this because not everybody knows this. There are two types of games. There is the VR game and there's a PC VR game. Let me show you my channel. I'm going to show you what a PC VR game looks like, right? And if you know this, it's okay, but people might jump in and watch my content after the stream. So I'm going to show you this anyways. This is now this is a older version of the game, but this is basically as good as graphics you can get on a Quest 2. This is the best you can do. Bro, this fucking base game is huge. Holy shit. Why is it so big? But that's basically like that's as good as graphics as you're gonna get. So also that's the Quest 2. The Quest 2 cost roughly $200. So if you buy a good cord and you buy a Quest 2 and you download the Quest app, as long as you have a decent PC, you're just gonna buy a. You can just do that. Like, you can just spend $200 and like maybe $10 on a USB 3.0, like this. It's plugged in currently, but I have this. That's not the right word. I have this huge ass USB cord. It's like 10 feet long yeah. Don't waste your money on an index. As much as I love Valve, they are making another VR headset already. So if you really want to get an expensive ass PC VR, just wait for the Decant. Yes, that's the title of the new VR, but they are working on a new VR. But that's a VR game. There's no PC involved. It's just your VR rendering everything. This is what PC VR looks like. Keep in mind, it's a more updated version, and it's also it's a stream, but this is what this game looks like. Just graphically. Don't worry about the mechanics, and just look at the graphics. The light is better. It's better. Like it looks so much better. What's in here? I'm trying to get failed. Look at this. It just looks better. It looks like an actual game. You ready? Good night. Oh, I failed. Hold on. If you did it, look at this. It looks a lot better. Fuck you. You know what? I'm gonna kill you. That's a PC VR game. My computer is running the game on my $200 Quest, but I'm using a cord and I'm plugging the cord into my computer, and I'm using the computer to run the game. Right? I'm using the computer to run the game, and my Oculus is treated as a monitor and a controller. It's like using a keyboard and mouse and a monitor, but it's a Quest. So don't buy a $1,000 headset. You don't need one. As long as your computer can run it and you have a good cord, it's not that deep. Like, let me show you an actual game. I already showed him. I'm not gonna show you the whole game. But this is a purely, it's just here, only on MetaQuest 3. You have to spend $500 for this game, and you can't run it on a PC. But this is strictly, I'm gonna skip ahead a bit.
Even if it consumes me.
This is a VR game, right? There's no PC involved, but this is a Quest 3. This is the most modern headset that actually can run better than a PlayStation. So it's really expensive, and it could run this type of graphics, right?
Are you not angry? Fight back!
By the way, this is not out yet.
It's the freaking bat! We aren't afraid of you! The bat dies tonight!
Jim, this Rat King could be anywhere. A face.
So it looks good, right? It looks good. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what PC VR is. Your PC runs everything, and then it uses the Oculus headset as the monitor, and it uses the controllers as the keyboard and mouse, basically. That's basically how it works. Now this looks good. But as we all know, look at this, bro. Look at how good this looks. This is fucking PC VR. It looks so much better. It looks so much better than the Arkham game.
So what's the plan?
If we can get this weapon, what we're doing here could change things forever.
There's no straight shot to the vault. I'm gonna head inside, find a way out.
It looks so beautiful. Now I'm not gonna show you the
with you every step of the way.
Animations are great. Also, by the way, they got the G-Man. Now, keep in mind that this is a PC VR game. You need a computer. When you run a Steam index, right? the Steam Index is technically weaker than a Quest 2. Why? Because you need these sensors. Let me show you what you need real quick. This is actually very important. This is extremely important. I'm going to go to my gameplay tab. This is extremely important. Hold on. Holy shit, they increased the price by a buttload. Where is it? Where is it? Where is... So look, this is it. It's $1,000 for the full set. Why do you need a full set? Let me show you why you need a full set real quick. You need the headset, right? The monitor. You need the keyboard and mouse, and you need a base station. Now, the base station, there are lasers, and you hook them up to your wall where you're gonna play your VR game, and it displays the ground. So when you move in VR, these lasers go to your computer to show you where everything is. It's basically the sensors, right? But all of this shit costs $1,000 fucking dollars, right? It's kind of nasty. Like, you need all of this shit. But if you look at a Quest 2, shopping, it's this is like an advanced kit, roughly $270 for this Quest 2. It won't have the best resolution, it won't have the best audio, but all you do is you just get this thing, you get the controllers, and you plug in the USB, and then you download the Meta app, which is right here. You download the Meta app, and you download Steam VR. You turn it on, and it just works, right? You don't need to spend like this VR has the base stations installed. When you get an Index, you have to buy the base stations for the sensors. This VR headset for $200 is just built in. You just gotta plug in it to your VR and to your computer, and it works. Now, I will say that because of all the tech, this is a little bit more like advanced, but the Index is a bit more stable. It's not as janky as that, but that is like literally 8 times cheaper. And remember, they're making another VR. They're making another VR. So just keep in mind, that can run games by itself. That can run games. You don't need a computer to run games in VR. But you can't run games like Half-Life Alyx. You can only play it with a computer. That's the difference. That's VR, and Half-Life Alyx is PC VR. Alright, enough about VR. Let's go to the game. Just saying, Valve, as you said, always a generation ahead of everybody else. Let's get real, bro.
Thing where you have to rotate the train and you have to kill the guy.
God damn it! I need more water. Be right back. Here, have a bottle cap. I missed. I missed again. I'm back. Sorry for the goofing around. Dang it, we're 2 hours in? No, we gotta walk in. We gotta walk in.
Gargantua first, because he was always defending the way out. I mean, you have to go to like another area which looks very much like it was designed for Quake, because pretty much it was. There was a flooded pump room, and you have to drain the generator, and then you can switch the power on, and then you can take the train out. Yeah, I remember him being totally central to this whole thing. And then, well, how do we block the player? Which is, I mean, that's pretty much like design point number one for all level design. Okay, well, how do we prevent the player from just walking straight out through the exit? And you design backwards from there.
In the first year, we built a lot of world space, a lot of track as we call it, and the programmers would try to fit the AI into the existing maps. What we did the second year was we built the AI in very constrained environments that showcase the AI. Let's make the ideal space for the AI and then give that to the level designers to incorporate those elements into their map so that it worked better and was more interesting. And that Gargantua was an example of that. And the grunts especially.
Yeah, we had the AI that Steve had been working on, and he had designed all these interesting encounters with them just in his test map, and so he had them up high and down low, and so basically we just could re-leverage that and say, okay, let's start where the player comes in low, and there's a Marine on the same level, and then the next one they're up high, and then they come running down, because it was really neat to see them retreat. They'd try to run back up the stairs and try to flank you from another side.
So Steve Bond, like I mentioned earlier, was this really young guy who had been making mods in Quake C, really the designer for so much of the AI. I mean, all the stuff that's good about the soldiers, the grunts you fight in Half-Life.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a language we could sort of use to say, this is a place they can climb, this is a place they can jump to, this is a good place to hide. These are good places to go in general, or interesting places. So, the AI had a little bit of help. We were trying to build something that utilized, the train technology that Jay was working on. And we thought, well, let's give the player something that they can control, but in a limited way. We couldn't do vehicles like you see in Half-Life 2. So we did the most constrained vehicle we could think of, which was the train. Players didn't always bring the train with them. And so you had a bunch of these poor people walking down these tunnels.
Oh, is that why you electrified the
rail?
Yeah,
and the rails, that was part of the feedback.
From that.
Part of the feedback was, well, you can just bypass all that, so we made the rails electric. It's like, well, maybe that'll teach them to bring the train with them. But the basic idea was, let's explore that, and then also reveal some of the hidden deep parts of the base, the abandoned areas.
I hate electric rails. Now I know why they did it, but I hate it still. Fuck electric rails. It's just ass.
Where you might get a lot more of the Zen creatures. We had designed some of the ones that didn't make it into the game to appear there. Bats that would dive bomb you, and while you're on the train, Stuka bats. And then we also tried hard to not make it feel like it was the super linear thing. So we tried to give little branches, and so there were some challenges there.
Well, there's a really good sketch that Kelly Bailey made, which basically charted surface tension, and it was pretty extensive. Like, it went through the cliffside, and it went through areas where tanks were, and like a lot of soldier holdouts. Yeah, it even went through the desert with the cactuses and the helicopters, and then across a dam. It was pretty extensive. When I saw that sketch, I was so motivated to just start building all of that stuff.
So I ran ahead with a lot of level design and a lot of geometry, and it seems like a lot of it stuck in some way or another, which is really amazing. I did the dam, which was funny. I just did that in a day. Right. Like, it was like about 4 or 5 hours. I did a Hoover Dam thing because I like the Hoover Dam.
I saw a concept of the cliffside. I think Harry Teasley built that render of the skybox. Yes. And I just thought, holy crap, this is perfect for Vertigo. Like, whatever we do here, we have to play on vertigo and like narrow little ledges and places you would like to normally dodge a grenade, but you can't.
And that's the moment. That's really the big part of that level, is that reveal. And the play is kind of supports it afterward. Yeah. The helicopter comes in, you're fighting the helicopter, which is awesome.
First of all, I had a bunch of textures, and then every time I made new ones, whoever was working on the new levels would be like, oh, fresh textures, I'm going to use those. Somebody making another level would start using them, and I was like, no, this is chaos. We need to restrict this. So I started naming the texture sets by the level that they were made for. I was trying to enforce some sort of like visual cohesion, and so that really ended up working.
There was one level I did, it was the introduction of the sort of the bounce pads, the alien bounce pads in the real world. Because, story-wise, like, okay, you're getting closer to hitting the alien world. So I was, well, let's get a little bit of alien world infection into the real world. So I had done it just as a visual thing. John Guthrie made it 10 times better. And that's actually where he found the photo of my daughter, because I didn't put my daughter in Gordon's locker. I hid her in like this destroyed office someplace, as a little Easter egg for myself. And John went and put my daughter's photo in Gordon's locker, which I think was a good decision.
Okay, I get the Easter egg now, but is that just simply an Easter egg, or does that mean Gordon has a daughter in lore? We're about to find out in Half-Life 3. Nah, I'm kidding. That probably goes to nowhere.
I still get questions about stuff that I spent 5 minutes on 25 years ago from people who've now thought about this for 25 years, and they're thinking that there's 25 years worth of development went into this. I'm like, on some level, when you start talking about lore, I'm like, well, there's Black Mesa. That was just a matter, we needed a name for something that was evocative.
In that entrance, when you get off the train and there's that lobby where there's a big map on it, and when we were making that map, that was fairly early on, I put a dot in New Mexico. And then that turned into, I think Mark saw that, he was like, oh, where is that? This is where we are. And then he named it Black Mesa.
That is a favorite thing of mine, actually. If you come up with a name for something, and it evokes something, then you don't have to write the whole story. It's because it's a conspiracy plot. Everybody knows more about it than you do, so you don't have to answer those questions. You just keep raising questions and make the mystery kind of thing.
Like dialogue came in later. Also, a lot of the scripted sequences came in later, and those helped to kind of sharpen the storytelling aspect of it, because, setting expectations to get up to the surface and then like, oh no, they're not here to help us.
The whole thing about diegetic writing, right? Like keeping the exposition in the game instead of outside the game. I give a lot of credit to Mark.
After play tests, we'd realized that maybe you need more of a dialogue cue about something.
That's when we started to do like scientists who were literally pop up in a corner and go that way. There's a few of those that we stuck in right at the end when we'd like, well, we get one more session with Hal. He can say, go down here, go around that corner.
Well, so much for the government. Their idea of containment is to kill everyone associated with the program. Judging from your hazard suit, I'd say you were part of what went wrong.
I knew Hal from San Francisco as an artist, cartoonist. He was also an animator and an actor in some science fiction movies. So when we got down to the wire, we did a bunch of voice casting and nothing was right. And I just kept thinking of Hal. And I finally just called him and said, Hal, I want you to at least talk to people here so they can hear your voice. And I got him on a speakerphone, and I had a bunch of people gathered in my office. And I'm like, okay, Hal, everybody's here. And he's like, well, what would you like me to say? And everybody is like, this is him. This is the guy.
Why do we all have to wear these ridiculous ties?
Another interesting voice thing was the G-Man. So we liked Mike Shapiro's work. So we knew we wanted to use him, but we brought him in to do Barney and also the G-Man. So we did a take on all the G-Man lines with kind of a straight voice, and it was thinking that, okay, we have something safe, but we're not super excited about it, and give us something else. And he does this crazy lizard voice.
The border world, then, is in our control for the time being, thanks to you. Quite a nasty piece of work you managed over there. I am impressed.
And we took it back, and everybody just loved the crazy lizard voice, and so that's how it worked out.
Did you do the Nylanth?
I did.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Nylanth. Just imagine his head floating in space as a baby.
I went into Gabe's office and I demanded Gabe to either fire Ken or I quit. And Gabe just laughed at me.
Correct response from Gabe.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Until Bill got there, I was the oldest guy there. It was hard because, I had to go home in the evenings, whereas the young guys who just moved out from Florida or wherever, they did not have to go home in the evenings. I'd go home, see my kids when they were in bed. I would come back down the hill to Valve. Nobody else I worked with had to get up to get their kids off to school in the morning, but I did.
You're wired to just take full advantage of the situation. You put everything into it. So when we say we worked 18-hour days, that's no exaggeration.
Yeah.
And not at all. I can edit all day. I can design all day. I don't have to worry about anything. 2 guys from Microsoft start a game studio with a bunch of incredibly capable, with an incredible team. You're gonna push yourself harder than ever before.
I don't usually crunch real hard. I get it done in I come in, I work, I go home, and a lot of people were living really long hours. The classic. Well, I'll come in at 1 and then goof around for a while and then work late into the late at night. I was employee 17. There was a woman that was the kind of the office manager, and eventually Mona Lisa Guthrie came in as at the desk. I was the only woman on the team. That was not awesome.
I decided to become a baseball fan here after the birth of my first daughter, so she's the one in Gordon's locker, Isabel, but she's very special needs. She's 25 today. Cognitively, she's about 3 years old. So after her birth, in the middle of Half-Life production, it was really hard. It was really hard because we were getting about 2 hours of sleep at a stretch because she had to be fed through a tube in her stomach every 2 hours. I had just a difficult time relating to the world when she was a baby. I had a hard time just talking to people because I was just kind of tired and angry all the time. Yeah, my wife, she worked at Valve for a while. She did a bunch of textures for the game. Like I say, she did those soda machines. She did just a bunch of level textures. She textured Big Mama, the sort of boss creature. She textured him. But when Isabel arrived, she obviously had a lot of issues. So,
stop pausing it.
Yeah, it's had to stop working and stay with her at home. And it was the last year of Half-Life, and we pretty much crunched that whole year. So I was at work a lot. It was hard. It was definitely a hard year.
We need to talk. I don't like to bring this up, but I relate to this guy. I do. I have a sister. She's older than me. She's like 24 now. But I have a sister who has severe autism. She wears a diaper. She has a feeding tube in her stomach. Basically sounds like my sounds like my sister. It is so rough. I stress a lot because of that. I stress what might happen when my mom passes away. And because my mom's her nurse. My mom is a nurse, and she became her job full time was to take care of my sister. And I just stressed the day my mom might pass away in the next 30 to 40 years, maybe 20 years. I just think who's gonna take care of my sister? I'm not a nurse. I can't take care of her, but I relate to this guy deeply. I do. I don't like to talk about it because, well, it's not my responsibility. She's my sister, but like I help around my mom. I do what I can, but it's not my responsibility. I'm not her father. So I tend to just live my best life and enjoy what I have while I still have. But there's just a lot of things that I hide behind my face. And one of them is my sister. And if you watched any of my streams, I have a brother. He's kind of an asshole. The reason why I don't let him in my streams is the way he treats my sister. My brother bullies my sister. He bullies her. She makes fun of her, but he has his own problems. He has a intestinal problem where he gets constipated currently, and I don't really want to go into it too much, but he makes fun of my sister, and I'm like, dude, she can't help it. She hums. She can't talk. But he makes fun of her for that. He bullies her for that. And well, he's like, well, I can't help it with his whole like intestinal issues. And I'm like, you just made fun of my sister, saying I told you she can help it. She's like, well, yes, she can, but you can't help it when you can't go to the restroom properly. Like, what? So that's why I don't let him in my streams, and why I keep him out of my room, and why I don't respect him. It's not me just being an asshole and I don't like kids. It's a very deep reason. You good, Roxy? You goofy. But yeah, it's stressful, bro. Let's continue. Zen. The one bad part of the game.
Often had this thing where they're just a little too attached to Star Wars, Blade Runner, Aliens. So it wasn't that hard to try to get people to go, let's think of something really alien. Like what Zen was initially was you're going to go inside a huge alien organism and kill it or figure out how to turn it on or off or something like that. I didn't know we couldn't actually do that or what was involved.
What does it mean to have alien architecture or a planet that's biologically defining the structures in it, as opposed to what the tools we're good at, which is making rectangles?
And then slowly it scaled back till it was more and more corridors, and that everybody was really good at.
People were finishing up stuff and I was still working on Zen, because it was like it went through a lot of iteration, or at least we're trying to figure out what it was. Different people were taking swings at it, either in static concepts.
Weren't you under a bit of a timeline crunch for it as well?
Yeah, it was the end of the game.
Yeah.
I wanted to cut stuff out, and they're like, no, leave it in. I'm like, yeah, but I don't have any support for this. Right. And then after a lot of it was built, it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna change the gravity and give you a jump pack. That came later. And I was like,
There's a lot of stuff, especially in Zen, where you're getting close to a first draft of some things, right? Because we just didn't have time, and we got to the end of the game, and so we considered not going to Zen, but the art concepts people did were so cool.
For the Zen textures, I was deeply inspired by electron microscope imagery, and we had so much of that regular structural texture material that I wanted to do something more organic. Insects as well. I think there's a lot of textures that were based on beetles. That was really fun and incredibly challenging levels to make, because that editor was not friendly for organic shapes.
I built the little behaviors for the tree that hits you if you get too close, and the light stalk that kind of hides But Ken did a bunch of AIs there, the floating controller guys.
And the flying guys were great, but you had to set up air nodes for them to travel properly. I prototyped a lot, and some of those prototypes were used in the final battle, I believe, and also for the Gonard, which I think Randy did.
We, at some point, have to stop polishing. At some point, we have to, like, it is what it is. And if the player hasn't had fun up until that point, well, then we failed. They're not going to get to that point, so who cares? It just has to finish, and it did.
Yeah, and there's always Half-Life 2 to win them back.
I love that sensation of being alone in an alien dimension, but the experience that people really liked in the game was scientists pop up and Barney pops up and you have companions and you have this feeling of companionship around you with all the other stuff that's going on. So a lot of people missed that, which I understood, and I think if we'd had thought about the ending from the beginning, we would have figured out some ways to do that a little more.
I remember coming back from downtown Cabo very drunk and then running to the beach, but didn't know there was like a 6-foot retaining wall there, so I just went right over. And then I was hurting so much I slept the night where I fell. Yeah, I woke up the next morning.
I had never heard that
a really
story.
Stiff neck.
Oh my God. It's a good thing you were pretty young.
I remember after we'd gone final on the game, I was home one morning, taking a shower, and my wife asked me, like, it's done. Is it any good? Is the game any fun? Like, I don't know. Like, I hope so.
I don't think it's exaggerating by saying if any one of the crew had disappeared for a month, we wouldn't have shipped. It didn't matter who they were. Everybody was mission critical.
My inspiration from Valve, what I really took away with me was that the thing that is most important to me is what are we making? Coming in as a texture artist, you don't have a lot of expectation that you're going to get to influence that. And I was able to have quite a bit of influence on the what.
It was so fun to work with the people who were making Half-Life. The collection of people were diverse, at least like in their professional backgrounds, was kind of all over the place. And so figuring out how to work with all those people, but also just the fact that we had hired really stellar people who were good at collaborating, like the conscientious people, deeply passionate about what they wanted to create. That just was a recipe for a professionally, like, really good time.
It seems to me that one of the things that good games do is make 2 games worth of stuff and then throw away the bad game. And fortunately, like, Valve was able to do that. A lot of companies couldn't do that, but backstopped by Gabe and Mike, Valve could afford to do that.
I always have absolutely nothing interesting to say when people say, would you reflect on your legacy? Like, I really don't look back a whole lot. I'm always...
See, he doesn't look back. I told you, they're never gonna remake CSS. They're never gonna. Valve just doesn't do remakes, right? That's not their thing. They let the community do it. If they have the resources, they have permission, you can make a game like Black Mesa. They let you remake their games if you get permission. But they're not going to do it themselves. That's just not something Valve does. As Gabe says himself. He doesn't look back, he looks forward. Why would you go back in time and remake it? You've already played the game, why remake it and replay it? I mean, there's another reason why you would, but from his standpoint, why would you? Why, like, even if it's a remake, you're not truly re-experiencing that game for the first time. And that's honestly the problem with it, right? When I played Black Mesa, after playing all of the GoldSrc games, I played Black Mesa a couple of days after Half-Life 1, I knew what to expect. I mean, I was expecting better graphics, better gameplay, better everything, but I still knew what was going to be in the game. I wasn't really surprised. I mean, I was by the graphics. Like, I loved Zen. Zen was such a good part of Black Mesa. That was breathtaking. But that's not Valve, right? Right? Valve just doesn't do remakes. That's not their thing.
I'm always excited by the future, right? So to me, it's like I can look back at the things we did, but to me, they're just sort of like the stepping stones to what we're going to be able to do in the future. That's just how I'm wired, right?
Oh, Team Fortress Classic. See if this is CS. Blue ship. Posing horse. That was good. That was a good video. That was good. I'm glad I did stream about that. But that officially wraps up. That wraps up the Gold Source. We're moving on. We're doing Half-Life 2. Yeah, we're gonna do Half-Life 2. We're gonna do Alex. We're gonna do the episodes. We're doing all that. Oof. I probably should have bought Half-Life Alex when I had the chance. It's now $60 fucking. Jesus. Yeah, that was a great documentary. Bro, this is so goofy. They gave themselves a reward.
We've got to get you out of here and up to the roof.
I'm working on it.
But yeah. Honestly, I came into Half-Life so think of it this way, right? Lock-in. This is pretty deep. I've played a lot of games in my life. I played a lot of games. I played BioShock. I played Dead Space. I played Crysis. We're also talking about sequels. I played Crysis 2. I played a little bit of Crysis 3. I played all of the. I played the Borderlands games. I played a lot of the Call of Duty games. I have not done the Halo yet. I need to jump into Halo, but I was gonna jump into Half-Life because I've wanted to do it for a really long time. Half-Life has always been a pop culture. Why not jump into Half-Life, right? It's there. It's cheap because they're old games. They have Half-Life Alex, and there's going to be a third game. This is the perfect game to jump in. And I bought my PC. I bought my new PC. I thought this was the perfect time to do this. And I was right. What this has done for me is it's incredible. Like, not just the whole VR shit, not VR. I mean the whole like all these games in Black Mesa and the memories I'm able to create with this. Like, it's been incredible. Like, sure, I haven't really been able to connect with the older Source games as much, cause like they're outdated now. They're still hella impressive for their achievements, but they're outdated. Half-Life Black Mesa though, especially during Zen, I had so much fun with Black Mesa. It's a modern version of Half-Life, and Black Mesa was great. I loved Black Mesa. Yeah, but I think that now I'm gonna go into Half-Life 2. I mean, I'm already past. I already got the RPG. I just got the RPG in Half-Life 2, so we're moving pretty far into that game. But this has been more than just playing the game, enjoying it, and creating memories. I have gained new members. When I should streaming on YouTube again, I have this PC. I can start streaming. I can start doing more with my content. And I was gonna like stream Half-Life, and that's what you check something out with me. We go to my channel. Now, this stream is unlisted. I might convert it into video, but my first video, I made a video about Half-Life, and it's right here. Multi-dimensional aliens are invading. It was a 40-minute video, and before I unlisted it, because I recorded it wrong, it only had 2 views. 2 views, and that's about it. I had no reason to keep playing Half-Life. And then I tried to stream it. And I made this video. It's also unlisted because it has problems. It was an hour long, and it was called Not Playing Half-Life 1, Watch End of the Video. It has 52 views now, but at the time of streaming this, I only had like 5 views total by the time the stream ended. Like, look at this. Look at my opinion on this, okay? I'm gonna show you the end of this video, and you're gonna see how vastly different my opinion is now compared to then. Also, look how janky that fucking webcam is. I've improved a lot over the past couple of days. No, bro, one more try, I'm done. I'm moving to Half-Life 2. Fuck this game. Not enjoying it. Not a good game. Done. Fuck this game. Bad game, bro. No one likes it. If you like it, you're lying to yourself. Fuck this shit, bro. Nope. Uninstall this shit. Install Half-Life 2. Fuck that shit. I'm done. Bad game. Who cares? But I'm not playing it anymore. Wow. Like, it was crazy, bro. I had vastly different opinions when I first played this game. But like, that's just how I did it, right? And I think the main thing is like that was me though. I went into the game blind. I didn't understand the mechanics. I thought the game was way worse than I thought. I fucking hated Half-Life when I first played it a couple of weeks ago. I hated it. But I saw that people were watching my content. I tried to restream it, and people liked it. I made progress. I beat Blast Pit. I beat it, and I saw people like Tark and One Freeman. I saw viewers join and actually talk to me, and I was slowly growing a community. Sure, this channel won't always be Half-Life. I will move on eventually from Half-Life into other branches, and I still want to play more from Valve, but I'm not just oriented around Valve games. But the fact that I'm able to build a community, even if it's a small couple of viewers, people would rather watch me over other creators. Half-Life let me do that. Half-Life, even if it's small, like 3 people, people would rather watch me over other people. Even if there's when I did the final episode of Black Mesa, that day there was Shift in Blue. The whole event where people were playing Blue Shift all fucking day to break Steam records. Even during that, I still had 20 to 30 views. And by the time I beat the game, I had like 40 views. People would rather watch me play Black Mesa than the Blue Shift event that people were hosting. That means a lot to me. And I owe Half-Life that. So, it's been an amazing journey. The journey's not done. It's only just begun. But it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And I'm so thankful to whoever's watching this. Thank you so much for... thank you for watching me play Half-Life. Watch me goof around. Watch me rage. Watch me grow as a streamer. I'm still growing. I'm planning on buying a new microphone. This microphone's kind of dookie. As for the webcam, I'll think about getting a new webcam in the future. But in the future, maybe in the next year or two, I'm thinking about getting new tech, new microphone, new webcam, some new software. I'm thinking about getting new stuff. I'm gonna grow. I got this second monitor right here, just so I can read chat and select scenes. I did all of this crap. This was me. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for here. I'm watching this stream. I can see the stats. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. We have gained 100 views. 100 views. Not current views, but we have got 100 views. That means just 100 people clicked on my video of me reacting to a documentary. And if you saw that, there were discussions about Valve. There were discussions about VR. A community has been formed. It's incredible. I will finally move on. If you guys want me to, let me know. If you guys absolutely want me to, I'll re-download the Half-Life games and we'll play some mods. We'll goof around, we'll do some more things. I do want to move on, but if you guys absolutely want me to, I'll do more. I'll do mods, we'll do more. But thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for everything. It's been an amazing journey. And I think that with this anniversary, we are finally done with the gold source of Half-Life. And we're finally going to be able to move on with no restrictions straight to Half-Life 2. Although we already played Half-Life 2, I'm on the coast. I'm on the coast chapter. And I did all that streaming shit. You can check those out right now. But as for classic Half-Life back in the 90s, even the DLCs the Gearbox made, we're finally done. We're all caught up on GoldSrc. Now we're moving on to Source 1. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And I think this really means a lot. I think if you guys have a dream, go for it. I dream of one day I can become a great streamer. I can become a big streamer with a fun personality and talk to my viewers and have a community and talk and build something together. I think I have a vision and I want to accomplish that. I start small. I got a crappy microphone. The microphone sucks. I got a crappy webcam. The webcam sucks. But we're growing. I'm learning. We're learning. We're growing. And just thank you. Thank you so much. It means a lot. I will eventually be reaching. Where are all these fucking ASMR videos? We will eventually, not today. You probably can't see it because the resolution, but we will be reaching 500 subscribers eventually. Not today, not tomorrow. Oops. But we will be reaching 100 subscribers eventually. So all I gotta say is thank you so much. Truly. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your kind support. Thank you on this journey. And it's time for the next step.